input we're getting, and the intel, I guess, is reporting that Russia is about to focus more towards the eastern and southeastern part of Ukraine. You can't believe anything the Russians tell you. That's number one. I think we have learned that over the years, and even more specifically when it comes to the pre-invasion days. Notice the Russian kept saying, we're not invading, no one is invading Ukraine. So we knew that we can't listen to anything the Russian says. We have to kind of watch what it is that they do. Right now, when you're listening to watching the Russians saying that we're focusing on the eastern, southeastern parts, like more at Mariupol, Kherson, and Mykolaiv, and they're taking their focus away from Kiev and Chernihiv. I think that's just, in my assessment, that's just misdirection. We can't trust anything they say. Nothing at all. Matter of fact, I would go with the opposite of what you're saying. That's my opinion. Here's why I think that's dangerous to listen to anything that Russia says. And the media is reporting this in the last 24 hours. Oh yeah, the Russians are kind of claiming that they're moving towards the east. And we have no real reason to believe them thus far. So we don't trust anything. I personally don't trust anything the Russians say. Nothing at all. And here's why I say that. Let's look at this scenario where Russia is actually saying, or the intels we're getting, Russia is moving its attention from Kiev and Chernihiv down south in the southern part of Ukraine or eastern part of Ukraine because they had more success there. Here's what happens if the Ukrainians listen to that and they start focusing their attention towards the southeastern part, the southern part of Ukraine. Naturally, what would they actually have to do at that point? They would take some of their assets, some of their forces, and focus them downwards towards these areas that Russia is saying they're going to focus on. Now, prudence dictates that if you look at that tactical decision of Russia moving towards the south and focus your attention towards it, meaning as far as Ukraine is concerned, taking their portion of their forces and sending them down towards the southern part of Ukraine, that itself makes Kiev and Chernihiv area somewhat vulnerable, which is what the Russians are counting on. So what I call is a simple technique of misdirection by saying that we're focusing here when you simply want the Ukrainians to start focusing on the south, and then next thing you know, they'll start sending their forces back into Kiev and the Chernihiv area or the western part of Ukraine. The danger with that is, as I said, you take your forces out, you focus them towards the south, and you leave the Kiev or the capital area kind of vulnerable at that point. So I wouldn't do that. I would still maintain presence, heavy presence in Ukraine, in the northern part of Ukraine, Kiev, and the Chernihiv area, also the western part where Lviv is at. I would take the focus away from these areas because I strongly feel that's exactly what the Russians want, is the Ukrainians focusing on the southern part of it. So it's misdirection, simple as that. And then on a secondary note, the meeting in Ankara in Turkey looks like a positive step in the right direction, but that's also misdirection. And here's why I say that. Those who understand military tactics and understand the military mindset. And there's plenty of generals out there that would probably agree with me. And naturally, I'm not a military person, but I have my own assessment in what's going on and why this meeting is happening in Ankara, Turkey. You recall the early damage that happened when the convoy, the 40-mile convoy, was sitting there. Some of the drones that were attacking this convoy were drones sent by Turkey, the Bayraktar drones. They were causing a tremendous amount of damage. Now, what would be the reason Russians would want to sit down in Turkey? Here's my assessment on that. It's just an assessment. It's my personal opinion, but it's based on some of the former acts that Russia has taught us through. So the Bayraktar drones caused a lot of damage in the early days of the military invasion of Russia. So now when you agree to a meeting, if you're Russians and you agree to a meeting in Turkey, you're basically telling or telegraphing this indirect kind of message to Turkey that, look, we're kind of humoring you, we're sitting down in your country, we're negotiating, and we're trying to, have peace talks here. It simply kind of indicates to the Turkish Erdogan government is that ease up on some of this exports that you're doing as far as the drones and such, and maybe kind of back off from that position of supplying these various types of ammunition and drones to Ukraine, which was causing a lot of damage. So I think that's also a misdirection, kind of a tactical decision on the Russians to kind of suck up to the Turkish so they could have some possibly advantage there as far as the Turkish not sending them any kind of drones, that caused a lot of damage to the Russian convoy in the early days. So that's just my assessment of it. I could be wrong, but then that's how I see that whole scenario of the peace talks being held in Ankara and Turkey. I'll comment on the next portion of it, possibly in the next video, but that's my opinion, and I just will stick to my assessment of it, and we'll wait and see what does happen in the future.